his arms above his head, all these cramps. He's sweating in pain, he's sweating in fear, and it's psychological torture. He's just staring at the wall.
Oh, hell no. I'm gonna go ahead and like speculate a little bit right now. People who do that kind of abuse, where it's like, it's almost gamified for them. They get off on it. I'm not gonna like go as far as to say it's like sexual, like they get off on the power trip. I genuinely think it's just like, it's a result of people that are just innately born evil. Like they're born with this fascination of treating people like animals. And even if you treat animals like that, that's fucking terrible, obviously. Like, but yeah, hooking them up to devices, sensors. If you move this much, I'm doing this to you because you deserve it. It's this morbid curiosity with like, okay, how badly can I injure you? And also, how badly can I make you lose your dignity? And yeah.
Sweating in pain, he's sweating in fear, and it's psychological torture. He's just staring at the wall. He doesn't know how long he has to do this, but he knows that he can't outsmart this little sick game, because there's no way that you can do this forever. At some point, you're gonna move. At some point, something's gonna itch so much that you have to put your arm down. At some point, your legs are gonna give out. He played this game a lot, to the point where he actually did outsmart the animals. He realized that the motion sensors were not that sensitive. If he moved ever so slowly, like 1 millimeter at a time, just tiny incremental movements to the point where he could slowly put his arms down, the motion sensors would not go off. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't get punished, because there were cameras everywhere. There were cameras in every single corner of Timothy's life. Any place that he had access to in this building, there were cameras set up. The tiny little storage closet underneath the stairs that he slept in, every time the door would open, there'd be a zzz, the camera would move, and it would track him. The camera would track his movements. There was a camera placed directly outside that storage room door. Just in case he left the room, there would be motion sensors and cameras going off, alerting the people watching him.
They were literally like cattle, like treating them like a pet that you don't want running away, except that's like your son.
Cameras in the living area directly outside of the little closet in the stairs. There were cameras on the stairs to lead to the outside, to the real world. There were cameras everywhere, and all of them were actively watching Timothy. There was no escape. And every day, everything in Timothy's life was controlled. I mean, every single little thing. He was not allowed to leave the house. He was not allowed to go to school. He was not allowed to socialize. He was not allowed to live a normal human being life. All of his bathroom breaks were timed. 60 seconds for urine, 120 seconds for anything more. It got to the point where Timothy, whether it was from the abuse or the torture, he became incontinent. He was unable to hold his urine anymore. He was forced to wear adult diapers, and those were not frequently changed. He would be yelled at and tortured if he soiled himself. And even Timothy's food and eating schedule and water, they were timed and controlled. Well, it wasn't timed. He never knew when he was going to get his next sip of water. He only had a few sips a day. He never knew when his next piece of stale bread was coming, but it was all controlled. He didn't have a single choice in his life. And when he wasn't being punished or tortured, he would be shoved into that tiny little room under the stairs with no light, and he would be forced to get on his knees, sit facing the webcam, pointed at his blue tarp on the ground, which is his bed, and he would be trapped there for hours. He was not allowed to lay down. He was not allowed to sit down, stand up, stretch. He would just be on his knees, staring at the camera.
Like kneeling on the ground?
Kneeling. No books, no mattress, nothing. Just him and that little webcam. He would be kept in there until he would be used for torture. The door would slam open, he would be dragged out. Everything in his life was monitored. Even in that room, the webcam was pointed directly at him, and he knew that he was being watched. He was forced to sit on his knees. Even though no one was there with him, he was terrified to even rest a little bit or lean up against the wall. He wasn't allowed to itch his nose, rest his arms when they started getting numb. He had to remain in that stress pose for the entirety of the day. Otherwise, the torture would begin. Even Timothy's sleep schedules were monitored, so if he was seen dozing off on the webcam, he would be punished. Timothy was heading into sleep deprivation territory, and there were a few times that Timothy would break these rules. One time he was so hungry, he snuck upstairs as quietly as possible. He opened up the fridge and saw a pound of raw hamburger patties sitting on the shelf, and he was starving. He grabbed the package, ripped off the plastic, and started shoving fistfuls into his mouth. He had to hurry so that he wouldn't get caught. I mean, he would get caught, but he had to hurry so that he could keep eating a little bit more.
You say it was raw meat?
Raw meat. Another time, it was raw bacon, uncooked bacon from the fridge. And the most recent time was he found his way into the freezer and ate an entire bag of frozen chicken nuggets, still frozen, straight out of the freezer. That's how hungry he was. Another time, Timothy was caught trying to sneak a bite of a stale burger bun, and he was forced to throw it up, because that wasn't for him. How dare he eat something that wasn't for him? This is Timothy's life.
Well, I want to remind y'all, he was 15 when he passed away. So for all we know, this could have been going on like since he was 14. At that age, man, I look back at when I was that age. Hell, I look at my little brother who's around that age. They're supposed to be outside playing on the PlayStation or on the Xbox or whatever console you like. And then yeah, I mean, those are just like really formative moments of your life. And then like to imagine Timothy's life, like locked in a room like a slave, basically. It's just so sad.
Breaking these rules, he would be dragged into the bathroom, and the bathroom was like the worst part of his life. Timothy would be forced into an ice cold bath. That's not even an exaggeration. There would be ice thrown into the bath. There was an ice maker in this house specifically for the purpose of filling Timothy's bath water with. The shower curtain was taken off so Timothy could be watched.
And that's another thing right there. That's another thing I want to touch on. The ice, that takes more effort than just like not letting him shower at all. So like she could have just like not let him shower. That would have actually been easier. But the fact that she was willing to fill up the bathtub and then go through the trouble of filling it with fucking ice, she just got off on the torture. Like she enjoyed seeing her son in pain.
The shower curtain was taken off so Timothy could be watched. And on the bathroom counter, laid out like a surgeon's little instrument tray, were a bag of black zip ties, a motion sensor camera, a piece of stale white bread, and a jar of hot sauce. Elijah's extreme regret, hot sauce.
Elijah's extreme regret.
Oh, what's this one? How many Scovilles? 800,000. What's the Scoville of a ghost pepper? Ghost peppers range from 855,000 to 1 million. So basically, she was force feeding her son, her 15-year-old son, ghost pepper sauce. Ghost pepper hot sauce.
Now, there is a ranking for heat. It's called the Scoville scale. A bell pepper from the supermarket is 0 Scoville heat units. I mean, it's almost slightly sweet when they're in season, but it's still a pepper, technically. A jalapeno pepper, that's maybe at most around 8,000 Scoville units. And from there, different peppers have different ranges of heat. So the higher you go up on the Scoville scale, the more that you're going to feel it in your temples, the more that you're going to feel it in your throat, your stomach. But two of the hottest peppers in the world are the Trinidad Scorpion and the Carolina Reaper pepper, and both of them are at about 2 million Scoville units. Jalapeno pepper, 8,000. The police issued pepper sprays. They actually start at around 2 million units. So imagine just like spraying pepper spray into your throat.
2 million Scovilles? Oh, hell nah. People be getting sprayed with that shit in the eyes. Oh my God. I would not want to feel that. I didn't know they were that powerful, the pepper spray.
So imagine just like spraying pepper spray into your throat. It's not going to be a pleasant time. I mean, to consume that level of heat. Elijah's extreme regret hot sauce could be considered very high on the Scoville scale. On the side of the bottle, it reads, packs the fire of the 2 hottest peppers in the world, Trinidad Scorpion and the Carolina Reaper pepper. Your tongue will burn from the sting of the scorpion. Your eyes will tear up as sweat pours off your head. Your throat feels the burn of the Carolina Reaper going down. The pain becomes unbearable. You feel like you just ate a burning hot coal. That's when you realize extreme regret. It is made, like I said, with the 2 hottest peppers in the world. This hot sauce is a combination of both of those. The RM team and I actually ordered a bottle of it from Amazon just to understand the case better. And I mean, we had a tiny, tiny dollop of it. It was enough for us to start sweating. It was not a pleasant experience. I would say that we collectively had less than a teaspoon together. We were really safe about it too. We made sure that we already had food in our stomachs. But for Timothy, he would eat it on an empty stomach.
Yeah, on an empty stomach, no chaser, like no water. Ideally, you would want like some kind of milk or juice, but not even food to accompany it, to kind of like dilute the heat. The mom was forcing that down his throat raw. That's just cruel.
He would eat it on an empty stomach, and he would eat a lot of it. Globs of Elijah's extreme regret hot sauce were poured onto 3 pieces of bread, coating the bread, soaking each of the slices. You know when you make French toast, you grab the piece of toast and you just submerge it in that eggy mixture? That's what this bread looks like, but with hot sauce. And they were shoved into Timothy's face. Eat it. That's all you're getting. Hurry. Gotta be quick. Mom's coming home. The police were finishing up the very first interrogation of 20-year-old Paul, who is being accused of abusing his 15-year-old little brother, Timothy Ferguson. Paul is sitting there with his feet up on the chair, his knees are pulled into his chest, and interestingly, he looks very skinny as well, which he claims was due to his overactive metabolism. Tell us about your home life. The investigator, they want to get to know Paul, understand him, and maybe...
Yeah, he looks just as skinny, goddamn.
The way that he thinks about things and the way that he does stuff. Tell us about your home life. Paul hadn't always lived with his mom, Shanda. I mean, Shanda, in fact, he hadn't talked to his mom, Shanda, for years before moving in with her. Shanda and Paul's biological dad, Eric, they had gotten a divorce. Paul and Timothy, the brothers, they stayed with their dad Eric along.
I don't know. He looks the older brother. I don't know if it's just his face, but he doesn't strike me as a cruel individual. I think there's a chance they're all semi-abused. Obviously, the 15-year-old may have gotten it the worst, but these guys, they don't look evil necessarily. We'll see, though. We'll see. I could be wrong. Holy yellow. She got them pearly yellows, bro. God damn. Fucking corn on the cob ass teeth. Hell no.
Paul and Timothy, the brothers, they stayed with their dad Eric along with two of their other siblings. But in 2020, Paul moved all the way from Oklahoma to Michigan to move in with his mom. In 2021, Timothy would move from Oklahoma to Michigan to live with his mom. So at this point, at his mom's house, there were 5 of them. We had mom, Shanda, her new husband, Adam, their new half-brother, G, who's 7 years old, and Paul and Timothy. So the authorities asked, what was life like in Oklahoma before moving to Michigan to be with her mom? Hectic. They were living with their stepmom's nieces, so there were 8 people living in a 4-bedroom house. Paul had to share a bedroom with Timothy at his dad's house. So they're pretty close. You know, these are not brothers that didn't grow up around each other. Paul stated that their biological dad, Eric, was evil. He said, my father spanked me with a belt so hard in Oklahoma that my butt was bruised. He said his dad would have them do wall sits where they would have to lean their back up against the wall, squat down like there's some sort of chair. And it sounds somewhat doable, but it burns like hell, okay? Paul said that his dad had him doing that while holding 2 pans of chicken noodle soup. I could hardly go to school the next few days because I had to walk and my limbs were so stiff. Allegedly, Eric, the dad, had convinced all of the kids that Shanda, their mom, left because she didn't love them. And so when Paul finally moves back in with her mom in 2020, he's 18 years old, he asks his mom, is that the truth? And she said, absolutely not. He said, my mom loved every single one of us, but my dad's controlish, freaky nature was just, he didn't want her to have any contact with the kids and screwing up all of his control.
She loved every single one of us, but my dad's controlish, freaky nature was just, he didn't want her to have any contact and screwing off his control level.
Trained to become a Marine or motorcycle technician at Universal Tech.
Paul further ranted to the investigator about his father, about the fact.
So both the mom and the dad are kind of not the best, but it seems like the mom was clearly worse. Unless maybe the mom was doing some kind of manipulation on her end, turning them all against the dad, and then they all kind of developed Stockholm syndrome under her. I don't know, we'll see. I'm speculating.
Paul further ranted to the investigator about his father, about the fact that when Paul turned 18, his dad started demanding he go find 2 jobs and give up 50% of the paycheck to him so that he could pay for rent and food. He wanted Paul to be fully independent, and if he didn't, he would get kicked out.
Ooh, I actually hate when parents do that. I don't like, if I ever have kids, if you're staying with me, I'm not making you pay fucking rent or anything. I think it's so weird how parents, like, when their children turn 18, like, yeah, start paying me rent, boy. Like, what the, like, that's your son, bro. Like, that's your kid. Like, take care of him.
He wanted Paul to be fully independent, and if he didn't, he would get kicked out. So that's what ended up happening. Paul was kicked out at 18. He had nowhere to go. He called his mom, Shanda, who he hadn't talked to in years. He thought that she hated him, and that's why she left. She took him in with open arms. And Paul loves his mom now. He loves living with her. He's got his own room. He's got a part-time job as a dishwasher at Applebee's, and he doesn't have to give up 50% of his paycheck like his dad made him do.
And unlike my father, she doesn't force me to give her half of my paycheck. He forced that on me. And I was working basically minimum wage.
Paul continues. The thing is that my mother can't even face my father right now. She doesn't want to call him because the one thing that she and I both know is that he's going to hurl every ounce of blame that he can at her. She's nothing like him. That much I know. She never does anything to be harsh. It's interesting because Paul lived in Shanda's house with his full brother, 15-year-old Timothy, and 7-year-old half-brother, G. And he treated them so differently. Paul would force Timothy to open his mouth, and he would yank his head back and just pour giant clumps of ghost pepper hot sauce straight down his throat when his mom was at work.
Wait, what? Oh, so I was wrong. Yeah, so Paul was also this nerd-ass bitch. I'm sorry. Hey, man, I was trying to be impartial. I was going to try and give this guy the benefit of the doubt. But all of the elder members of the family were all abusive towards the children. Even this fucking... Ooh, I wanted to say something that would get me canceled, bro, but he looks like he fucks his cousin.
Paul would force Timothy to open his mouth, and he would yank his head back and just pour giant clumps of ghost pepper hot sauce straight down his throat when his mom was at work.
Your own brother. Like, I get teasing. I get teasing your little brothers when you're growing up. That's just what older brothers do. But that's like actual torture.
Or he would force him to submerge his entire body into an ice bath for an alarming amount of time. But he told investigators